Good Sunday morning, Northeast Ohio, coming to you this morning from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What will be the center of attention this week here in Cleveland, all leading up to next weekend's big induction at Public Hall. Not quite as glamorous, all right, not glamorous really at all, is early voting. It gets underway Tuesday, leading up to the May 8th primary. And this year we got some primaries for governor, most notably on both sides, and for U.S. Senator on the Republican side. Josh Mandel, you'll remember, dropped out of the race earlier this year for family health reasons, and Congressman Jim Renacci got in. The man who's been in the race the longest, though, is Cuyahoga County businessman Mike Gibbons. I asked Gibbons, who said he supported Renacci for governor, if he was disappointed to see him jump in the Senate race.
It was, and I don't fully understand it. They seem to want outsiders coming in. They say that, but when it came right down to it, they knew they couldn't buy me or control me, and the order came from Mitch McConnell, and he said, "I don't want Gibbons in the Senate." Now, consequently, I got Ryan Paul's endorsement. So I guess that's good.
Well, Gibbons said he's encouraged by some of the early polling that he has seen and will be focusing his attention in the final weeks of the campaign here in his home county of Cuyahoga. While sharing the spotlight with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this week is the Cleveland International Film Festival, now in its 42nd year. One of the films making its world premiere this week is one that's of special interest to those of us at News 5. Man Ray at Sea is the tale of Bob Manry, a 47-year-old copy editor for the Cleveland Plain Dealer, who in 1965 decided to take a solo trip across the Atlantic in his small 13.5-foot sailboat named Tinkerbell. Married father of two, left without fanfare in June of that year. In fact, his own newspaper didn't even know about the trip until after he launched. But as he sailed alone at sea, fascination with the voyage grew, and so too did the competition over the news coverage of it.
That's one of the things that made it interesting to me, because there was this huge news rivalry at the time between the Cleveland Plain Dealer and the Cleveland Press.
Steve Weistrack is the film's producer.
It was so intense that they actually had spies working in each other's organizations.
The Plain Dealer decided to fly Manry's family to England to be there when and if he arrived. The Cleveland Press, which was owned by E.W. Scripps, which owned News 5, had a wilder idea.
What if you could get there and intercept him before he arrives in England? But what are the odds of finding one man in a 13.5-foot sailboat sailing the Atlantic?
Well, as this vintage News 5 footage shows,
can we tow him around the lee side?
A team from News 5, led by reporter Bill Jorgensen, was able to do just that, much to Manry's surprise.
I didn't dream that I'd be seeing somebody from Cleveland, a familiar face.
As Jorgensen was getting the scoop for the press that day, they noticed two Royal Air Force bombers flying low overhead.
We didn't realize that it was editors from the Plain Dealer, and while they were taking photos of Manry down on the ocean floor, they couldn't get to him, and we continued our interview.
The news war only fed the growing worldwide fascination with Manry's trip.
Manry is just sailing along all by himself, completely unaware of any of this.
We caught up with Weistrack at the Cleveland Historical Society, where Manry's boat Tinkerbell now calls home. For him, this is the fulfillment of a dream and a project 20 years in the making.
I've always wanted to bring the film to Cleveland, for starters, and so I was very excited when the Cleveland Film Festival invited us, and so here we are.
If you got a chance to see the film, it is an awesome one on so many different levels. Tinkerbell, very much the little boat, the little engine that could. This place, very much the big engine that did. Consider this fact: when it was built back in the early 90s, it was built for a cost of just $92 million. A new economic impact study just out shows that visitors to the Rock Hall last year alone spent $127 million. Nowhere will you find a return on investment like that. And remember, you are all the reason the Rock Hall is in Cleveland. You fought harder and more passionately than any of the other cities in the running.
When we have studies like this done, we want to share them with the community to show that what they all bet on, what they really drove, pays off.
And this year, the payoff will be bigger, fueled by the Rock Hall inductions. Stay with News 5 and Good Morning Cleveland all this week as we help celebrate Cleveland's rock and roll history. With Democracy 2018, I'm John Kosich. Enjoy your Sunday.